Cheryl and I have been working together. She's been in the program for 6 weeks. So a month and a half now, she has been trying a whole food plant-based lifestyle for generally the first time. Her husband is doing this with her for sure for the first time. So he's not here today, but we might be incorporating him a little bit. All right, Cheryl, do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am 43 years old. I have a family of 4 children, ranges from 8 to 15. And I'm a special education teacher, so I work full time.
And where are you guys from?
We're from Utah.
Ooh.
4 children is not uncommon in Utah. That's kind of part of it.
So tell us what your diet typically looked like prior to starting this program.
All right, so I've never been a very big meat eater, but I felt very pressured to try to fit protein into my diet. So I ate a lot of Greek yogurt. I would do the soy milk with my cereal. I love cereal. And I ate a lot of fruits, a lot of grains, and then unfortunately a lot of candy. I love it.
Very different from a whole food plant-based sort of life, but she was always very anticipatory to give it a try. So that always makes me really happy. So what was your primary motivation behind making the plant-based transition?
So a few weeks ago, my husband approached me and said he wanted to do this. And I thought, who are you and what have you done with my husband? This was so out of character for him, but he went on to tell me that one of his coworkers that was a similar age to him had some serious heart problems and almost died. And when he hadn't seen this coworker for a while due to COVID. And when he saw him again, he'd lost 50 pounds and was so healthy. And he had gone whole food plant-based. And so that encouraged my husband to make some changes.
Okay, so what results were you hoping to achieve by starting a whole food plant-based lifestyle?
Of course, as a woman in her 40s, I'm always thinking I need to thin down a little bit. I'd like to lose a few pounds, but also I am tired of being addicted to sugar. I hate it. I don't like being in control, and that is something I'd really like to kick. And then I want healthy eating to become as easy as taking a shower. I look forward to taking a shower in the morning. I do it every day without thinking about it. And I want healthy eating to become just as easy.
So some other things that Cheryl was experiencing prior to starting this lifestyle that she was hoping to kind of mitigate or eliminate altogether were things like anxiousness and irritability or moodiness. She had really heavy, painful periods with even vomiting. It would get so extreme. She also wanted to get rid of some acne, some fatigue, some headaches. She suffers from restless leg syndrome, as well as having asthma. So these were some other things that she was, open-minded about, but still a little skeptical. So we'll see where she's at with those now. What does a typical day's worth of meals look like for you now?
One of the things Karli taught me that has really helped was just that variety leads to overindulgence. And so I've tried to keep things really simple. So every day I eat an oatmeal of sorts, still cut oats, regular oats with some fruit in it, and I love it. We usually my husband and I will either eat a really big salad or a soup with lots of vegetables in it for like a lunch. And then a dinner would consist of either potatoes and a vegetable and some beans, or sometimes we'll use like some whole wheat pasta for a meal too. And then for snacks, just raw veggies and raw fruit.
Sounds very kid friendly. How do your children respond to this these new foods?
Okay, well, since my children are older, they are very verbal about their food preferences, and I've kind of come to realize that I had enabled them to eat crappy food, by keeping sugary cereal and crackers around the house. In fact, I'm not even the type that keeps like cookies and chips or soda in my house, but I still had a lot of processed foods that were really quick and easy for them to eat. And I have to say that at first they really fought me on it. They were unhappy that those things weren't in the house. My children have nut allergies, and that's kind of a big thing when you have children that are growing quickly, that they need some more calories to grow. And having that not as an option for them has been an extra challenge. And so I haven't told them they can't eat anything, but I definitely have cut out the processed snacks around the house. And they have gotten to where they will eat a lot more fruit and like whole wheat bread. They'll eat that. And they're starting to try recipes that I make. I'll normally have like some sort of protein side for them to eat in addition to whatever Matt and I are having. But they're getting to where they'll try the food, and I'm really, really excited to see that they're starting to try a greater variety of fruits and vegetables.
That is super cool. So what exactly do you mean by a protein side?
A protein side could be a piece of meat. I do have like some baked meat I'll give the kids sometimes, or, like we'll do the beans. They'll eat beans sometimes, but sometimes I'll do like a frozen pizza, so don't.
Cheryl, that's fantastic that they are transitioning. Even these tiny little increments in healthy baby steps towards a healthier diet is exciting and a million times better than where they started, right?
I mean, working in a school, I see what students or my own children are served for school lunch, and I mean their breakfast is a Trix yogurt and Cocoa Puffs with some sweetened fruit and chocolate milk. Like their breakfasts are so sugary. So if I can get my kids to eat a piece of fruit and a few pieces of whole wheat toast, that is a victory. Yes, exactly, because I feel that my children are fighting an even bigger battle than I am, because
Right.
like their friends' houses have all of this junk in it, and they're served it at school, and and going to get a fizz drink is a social thing for them. And so, I look forward to trying to teach them have half your plate be vegetables at the meals they eat at home with me, and just try to lead by example.
Okay, Cheryl, do you enjoy these foods? Do you find them satisfying?
Something I really like about eating these foods is that I can eat a good, satisfying meal, and then I can go on my 3-mile run afterwards. Like I don't have to wait for my body to digest it. Like you feel full, but you don't feel gluttonous. And I really like that. I've learned that my taste buds can definitely change. Usually when I try a new recipe, I've noticed that the first day I eat it, sometimes I like it the first time, and then other times it's the second or third time I try it, and then I think, yeah, I like this. But what I love the most is how it makes me feel, and I love the variety of spices I'm learning to use. I think that our typical Western diet is so bland. It's meat and potatoes, but the whole food plant-based, you're learning a whole new variety of seasonings and flavors, and then there's so many different vegetables that you can try and grains. Like I had no idea there were so many grains you could try out. It's fun to experiment and learn new things.
Oh, absolutely. And people think this diet is so restrictive and you're hungry all the time, and it's just so far from the truth. There are so many thousands of plant species out there. You could literally spend a lifetime trying to eat something different every day and never eat each one of them. So when people think the standard American diet, they think that has a variety. But in truth, when you transition, you finally realize, wow, I've been so restricted my whole life. I've only been eating maybe a handful of foods for the majority of my meals my entire life. But now the sky's the limit. And like she said, it's exciting finding new and different foods that you haven't tried yet. It's like, it's a new experience every day. It's really neat. What noticeable changes have you experienced in your health so far?
I felt less roller coaster, like more steady energy and just even more energy. One other thing I've noticed is that my brain is clearer. I can think better now. That's something I've really enjoyed. I've noticed I'm more creative and can think more clearly.
So these changes in her moodiness and fatigue, specifically she was having issues with these in the later afternoon, these were reduced after the first week. By the time we met for our second session, she had already overcome these major issues that were causing her trouble in her life on a day-to-day basis. Some other changes she noticed at the 1 month mark were the significant changes in her taste preferences. She was really starting to be able to taste the subtleties and the nuances of the different flavors and the tiny amounts of sodium in things like green leafy veggies and broccoli and celery. You actually started looking forward to these foods. She started enjoying her beans and veggies so much that she felt, not that she was craving them, just that she would get really excited when mealtime would come and she would think about what she had packed for lunch or what was, in the oven ready for dinner or something.
Oh, absolutely. I love beans and rice and salsa on it. So delicious. And I love my stale cut oats with peaches and cinnamon. Like those are amazing meals. so good.
Good.
It's funny that you think that you need the sugary part of things, but like plain cinnamon or plain cocoa is really good. But I've lost 5 pounds. Now I know that's not quick, but
That's
I'm
a
really
lot.
pleased with it because I don't have a ton of weight I need to lose, and I already
Right.
have a lot of really healthy habits. And so whenever I've tried to drop a few pounds, it's difficult because I already don't drink soda and I already run and teach fitness classes. And so there's already a lot of good things in place. And I think that there's a lot of people that are like me. I call us kind of like fat and fit. Like, like we have a few extra pounds and we can do some pretty good physically active things, but I also know that weighing what I do isn't the ideal for my body. My body would be happier and healthier a few pounds less, and so but when you already have a lot of good habits, it's really hard to move that needle. And so losing 5 pounds and then not feeling hungry has been huge. I love that I'm not hungry. I love that I'm not counting calories. That that's like one of the big things I've learned on this is, that little tiny salad plate you get at the restaurant, that's not your salad on this. Your salad is like the trough. It's a big
Yes.
bowl.
Yes. It's a mixing bowl.
Yes.
Yes, you get to eat so much more food on this diet. What's not to love about that?
Yeah. Before my husband and I decided to undertake this, we had a very serious conversation. Like, it wasn't just the fee of a coach, but it was also the time commitment. When you switch the way you eat, you have to find new recipes, and going grocery shopping takes longer because you have to find your new foods.
Mhm.
And it just like I had to make sure that my husband and I were on the same page that yes, it's okay for you to neglect some of the other things you would normally do to make this happen for our family. And I have to admit that the first 3 to 4 weeks were rough. I mean, I spent hours like trying to incorporate new recipes and think about like what not just me but my family would like. And by the 4th week, I felt like I'd gotten into a little bit of a groove and a routine where the meal prep was starting to go back to what it used to be before I started this diet, but with new foods. And it was such a breath of fresh air that I'm like, yes, I can do this. Because I knew that spending all that time wasn't going to be maintainable. But I could definitely do that for 3 weeks because it got to where it's maintainable now.
Right. She was able to stack up on all of these staples, so she no longer has to buy every single one of them every time she goes to the grocery store. It's just there and ready to go.
I really liked when you gave me your meal plans because like those 3 weeks, it was really good to like have you hold my hand and just show, hey, like barley's a grain you can try, or white beans go good in smoothies. Those were all things that I didn't know. But after 3 weeks of that, I started to feel a little more comfortable to where I felt like, okay, I can figure out to throw this with this. That would be okay. And so and I was actually kind of craving that freedom too, because I know what my family typically eats, what I typically like. And so after kind of knowing what's out there and what to buy, then I could kind of start making things my own. And making my meal plan wasn't that hard after that. But before those meal plans that you gave me, I was kind of like, I have no idea where to even start. So
Right.
It was really good.
Yes.
I like the meal plans, and now I'm liking the chance to make my own.
But the first week we were working together, I like to give people a very general plan so they can spend that time, kind of cleaning out their environment and getting all the kitchen essentials in order and the different foods they might need, with the first grocery list and such. So she was very upset with me that first week. Okay, so what were your major challenges taking on the transition so far?
Let me think. Well, one of the big ones is we went on a vacation around week 3. And generally in the past, I would just say it's party time. Good food's part of the vacation. But this is a commitment that we've made and I didn't want to derail my progress. And so I had to sit and it's like that time thing. I think that sometimes you just have to realize this is going to take a minute and it's okay for it to take a minute. The best things take effort. And
Right.
So I had to sit down and I had to really think, what can I take on my camping vacation that's going to be easy and healthy? And I did it. I did. I'm like, I'm really victory. So cool. So that was one of the challenges. I have not completely kicked my sugar craving yet. Like, that is a demon.
Oh, yeah. That's to say the least.
It's very challenging, but I also have found that I think one of the challenges that I was very hesitant about taking on this lifestyle was what other people would think. And I had to tell the people that were close to me in my life, like my parents and my coworkers that I worked closely with, what I was doing. And I couldn't believe the support I got for this. I was kind of expecting some pushback, but it has been far from that. They, if they want me to come to dinner, like my parents, they will make things that are for me. And it's so kind of them. I don't expect it, but I share this because I think that a lot of times a hurdle that people go through when switching over to whole food plant-based is they're afraid that other people will think that you're judging them, and that's not the case. But I just never wanted to be getting like the stink eye for bringing my own cooler. But now I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I just want to live a healthy life, and I hope people know that I'm cool with their decisions, and I hope they're cool with mine. And so far, everyone has been.
I love that you included that. Thank you so much for sharing, because that is a huge piece of this very difficult puzzle, and that's why many people will never embark on this journey, because they are too terrified to go against their tribe. And it is difficult, but it can be done. And if your health is important to you, you will make drastic changes like eating healthy in front of your loved ones, if they really are loved ones. And like Cheryl's friends were sweet and support her through this situation. They did not shun her. They did not think that she's judging them. So
no, in fact, I had a birthday and they sent me a fruit bouquet. Like,
that's wonderful. How are your cravings for processed or animal foods now compared to the initial weeks on the program?
Okay, so the animal food cravings are practically non-existent. I hardly ever want to eat a piece of meat, and that's always been kind of a natural leeway for me anyway. I know it's harder for other people, although Karli knows I had an indiscretion one night.
I love that term.
But really, the animal foods has not been a challenge. And I'm surprised that the dairy hasn't bothered me, because I used to eat a lot of it. Like, I like cheese and yogurt, but I really think you have to go into this with the mindset that you're not giving up food. You're pushing good foods into your diet, and it pushes the bad ones out. Now, that being said, I still crave sugar and candy. Just eat like environmental. It's around everywhere at my school. It's really challenging to not eat it. But I just kind of keep thinking about the goals I have for myself, that I want to be healthy. And I think the other thing I think about is that I know my taste buds are changing. And if I slip and eat a little candy bar, I'm going to be thinking about sugar for about 3 more days. And that's more of the thing. I know that taking a little bite of a sweet isn't going to make me gain 3 pounds. I know this. But it's I don't want to be fighting the cravings. If you can get over the hump, the cravings are not as strong. And so that's more of the motivation, is just that I'm trying to set myself up for easier days the next few days by not partaking of that kind of stuff today.
Great. So 6 weeks in, you would say that your sugar cravings have diminished significantly.
Yeah, I would say definitely, because I was eating sugar every day, and now I don't. I'm not perfect, but most days, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can take everybody a different duration when it comes to this. It all depends on who you are, what body are you living in, and how much of these foods you ate, and how often throughout your life, and how long throughout your life. So those are all very good points, Cheryl. So what foods do you still crave, or what do you miss the most?
Lately I think it's because they're in a canister right by my desk. We just have like this Hershey's assorted candy mix, and I kid you not, it is 5 feet from where I sit.
Cheryl, that's awful.
But I share an office. It's not just me in my office. It's me and 4 other people, and they're motivators for our students. And so they kind of have to stay there, and so it's more me just getting used to seeing it. But today, today this nice custodian had brought some donuts in for my students, and one of my students just loves donuts, and he wasn't here, and so I wrapped it up and I put it on my desk, and it sat by me all day, and I wasn't even tempted. I was just like, it's good. I don't want that donut.
That's a victory. So, big question. Do you see yourself maintaining this lifestyle long term?
Oh, yeah. As I've gone through this, I think that's why the first few weeks were so challenging, was because I was thinking about the long term. I've been moving my food like my kids' junky food to the Lazy Susan where it's down low when I don't see it, and getting the right bins for my grains. And I mean, like this is not like a 12-week trial. This is about making some major changes. This is about adding new recipes to my recipe book and taking the old ones out. Making sure I have the tools in my kitchen to be successful. It's really like, this is the ideal. I'm really excited about the progress that I've made. And I mean, I just think how incredible it is to be able to lose 5 pounds and not be hungry and to feel healthy and focused. It's really, really good. And I think one of the criticisms of the whole food plant-based is that it's expensive. And I've noticed that my grocery budget really hasn't changed at all. And at this point, we don't eat out very much because we're like, baby steps moving forward. We haven't really figured out how to eat at restaurants. Karli's working with us on this. But like right now we eat in more, and that's good. That's a big money saver.
Yeah, the biggest problem with restaurants is even vegan restaurants, you're likely going to be consuming a ton of oil, salt, and sugar. So regardless of which restaurant you go to, you may always have to just compromise. But with that said, lots of my clients bring their food with them, as with myself, to the restaurant. Yes, places allow you to do that if they want the business of the other individuals you're with. But you can also bring like your own vinegars, and you can order a salad with, things that aren't going to contain anything that was on a grill or animal meats, obviously. So there are ways around this, but it's always recommended in a situation like this when you're trying to transition to these new foods to just stay out of them. Just leave them alone for a little while. They'll still be there when you're ready to come back, when you're more stable in your foundation and you really understand the reasons why you're doing this and you're no longer pulled so dramatically in that other lifestyle. So what advice would you give to somebody considering the transition to a whole food plant-based lifestyle?
A couple things. I think the first one is you really got to, I think if you are a past dieter, it's all about like small portions, but this is the opposite. You've got to be eating big portions of your vegetables. Like you have to stay ahead of the hunger. And if you, when you eat your meals, if you eat enough that you're satiated, and it's really hard to feel like gluttonous. In fact, I don't think I've ever eaten a whole food plant-based meal that made me feel gluttonous afterwards, no matter how much I eat, because it's just such light, healthy food. So like keep that in mind. You've got to get a big portion of your food. The next one is make it as easy as possible on yourself. There's like the gold standard of making your own beans and your own rice and things like that, or cutting up your own fresh veggies. But buy your frozen chopped onions. Make your life easier. If you need to go to a can of black beans, do it, because that's better than having to go grab some fast food on the way home. So learn the little tricks to speed up that meal prep. When I make my big salad, I try to buy pre-cut up carrots and things like that so that I can just throw it together. I remember the first time I made my big salad, it took me about an hour. Now it takes me 15 minutes because I know to buy some of the pre-chopped veggies, and I know that they're more, and you have to look at your own finances and your time, which is more important. But speaking of shortcuts, the other thing is make sure your knife is nice and sharp. It will save you tons of time. You have a good knife to cut up those veggies. I could not believe how dull my knife was, and then I sharpened it, and I'm like, "Ooh, this is kind of fun."
That's awesome. Those are such great tips. I love that you are finding these little compromises, because you really have to experiment and you have to try. Just like with anything that you're bringing into your life or trying to change a habit, it's about trial and error. If you don't give it a chance and see whether or not it actually does work for you, don't just completely dismiss it because that won't fit my lifestyle, or my kids will never do that, or I want people to keep an open mind with this, because you don't have to do it exactly like I do it. You don't have to do it exactly like Cheryl does it. Everybody's got to find what works for them and their lifestyle and their family. This family of 6 is making it work, and I could not be more excited for you. Let's catch back up with you in 6 weeks. So it'll be a 3-month duration, and find out where you're at.